Wow. That's great. So, again, my name is Teresa Bailey. For those who are new here tonight, and this is Dr. Lennox Bryson. And before we start, I just wanted to check in with everyone and see, how are you doing? Have you made any progress since our last session? Anything you'd like to share with us? Any differences that you noticed? Any improvements? Great. Okay. All right, that's good. And have you noticed any changes? How are you feeling? Yes, that's a great thing. Very good. Okay. Anyone else care to share with us? Yes. What's your name? Hi, Sandra. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's really not. And even if you go to like Trader Joe's, they have organic produce and even farmers markets, and they're not that expensive. That's amazing. It's a process. It's a process. Well, he said it's a process, so we'll go with that.
It's definitely a process. So don't worry about that. Um, Slow and steady will win the race.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to, you know, give everything right ahead of it.
So I know that last session I said that we're going to talk about poop, but I decided to do that for next session. I just want to go a little bit, expand a little bit more on, um, food and our self healing ability.
So your body's ability to self heal is greater than anyone has permitted you to believe. Our body knows what it's required to do. How do we know this? Here are just a few examples. If you break a bone, the body immediately begins to produce new cells to heal the damage. When your skin is cut, platelets in your blood clot, platelets in your blood clot to stop the bleeding. White cell, white blood cells remove the dead, injured cells, and new healthy cells repair the damaged tissue and produce. Um, um, but like I was saying, um, when your skin is cut, platelets in your blood clot to stop the bleeding. White blood cells remove the dead, injured cells, and new healthy ones repair the damaged tissue and produces fat. The liver is the only organ in the body that can regenerate itself. We see that our nails and toenails grow back after separating from the nail bed. Blinking lubricates and cleans your eyes by spreading your tears over the outer surface. It also protects your eyes from closing it to keep out the dust and other irritants. So, as we really see, our body does many things that we all take for granted. And a blink of an eye, if you couldn't do it, your eye would be dry. When we get a cut, if our body didn't send the platelets there to clot, we keep on bleeding and we wouldn't be here. So the daily wear and tears are also promptly dealt with. So what's the real thing that we have to do? Our job is to feed our body properly, giving it all the vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and the key one, water. Because as we said before, our body is 70% water. All the tools for our body to do its job, to heal and repair itself. It's all there. However, the current system has been designed to entrap us. And that's where the problem is.
So there's entrapment everywhere. And last month we talked about the food pyramid created. And in examining the food pyramid, what we were taught were we should be eating multiple servings per day is not accurate, as we discussed. They had fruits and vegetables towards the bottom of the food pyramid, and meat and carbs and everything else at the top. Not true. So, there's entrapment everywhere, from processed foods to packaged foods to fast food restaurants, out eating fast food to junk food. You have celebrities, marketing fast food restaurants as the cool thing. I saw the other day that Sweetie is now marketing McDonald's, and then you have Meg the Stallion is talking about Popeyes. And so, why are they using celebrities, and why are they using all this fancy marketing and advertising and branding to promote unhealthy food? Fast, no, food from fast food restaurants, processed food, the junk food that we give our children. Why is that? Yeah. But I'm sorry. That's the key point. It plays on your psyche, right? And a lot of the, I don't care whether you go to, a fast food restaurant, an upscale restaurant, food preparation is all about money. It's not about the health of the customer. So intuitively, we know what the healthy choices that we should be making intuitively. We know this. And you know this from looking at a baby, right? When you first introduce a baby to food, they'll choose the healthier option. It's only after you poison them, which it is, right? Introducing them to, sugary foods or, foods that they shouldn't be eating, then they'll want that food. But prior to that, intuitively, they know what the healthier option is, what the healthier choice is. So through the more conscious you become through education, knowledge, and intuition, you're able to understand what foods are right for your body for optimal health. Do you ever wonder why you crave the foods that aren't good for you? Does anybody know why we crave those foods? So, no. So, I mean, yes and no, right? Yes and no. But food manufacturers. So food manufacturers intentionally, right? There's research and studies done, like what additives that they can put in the food that, that will keep you wanting and coming back and buying more.
That's exactly right. Most of the junk food has additives and preservatives to make you crave it. So when you open up a bag of potato chips or some cheese that you can't just eat one or two. So once you get started, you really got started.
So, for example, monosodium glutamate, which is called MSG, right? That enhances the flavor and the smell of food. And that's put in most processed foods, junk foods, and fast foods. But the FDA requires labeling of these products featuring MSG, but they often list it under other ingredient names, such as yeast extract, natural flavors, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, and sodium caseinate. So when you're reading the ingredients, you don't see MSG and you think that, okay, I'm in the clear, but you're not. So they're being very clever about it in disguising the name MSG. Because they know it, now everybody knows MSG isn't good for you, so they disguise the name under different labels. So food cravings start with the brain. And there are three parts of the brain: the hippocampus, the insula, and the caudate. And it seems to be activated during food craving time. Now, there was a time, when your grandmother would make bread and you had four ingredients, right? So it was the flour, the yeast, the butter, and what else? The flour, the yeast, the butter, and the salt, right? Now you'll look at bread, you have like 20 to 30 different ingredients in that bread when they're making it. And these were all designed to create cravings. If you go to the supermarket, you have what would you say, about 10 to 15 aisles of food? And all of those foods are packaged, processed, junk food, right? And long shelf lives, which offers no nutritional value. They're dead food.
Testing.
So it's important that you read all the ingredients on the food supply. Everything.
What I would say is that don't just use America as your standard, because food is different all over the world. And if you see that America is probably the country that advertises the most, and the reason behind that is because they're getting away with giving us no food, and everybody's buying it. And what is our country about? Capitalism, making money at the expense of us. So all of us have to recognize that we have to become more conscious and not take for granted that they really have the best, that they really have our best interest in mind. Because what they really have is how much money they can make in mind. And all of us know this. But since we've been eating these bad things from our childhood and early, we're used to it. And we don't have anything to compare it to. How many people have been to Europe where you can compare the labels that you would get in Europe compared to the labels that you get in America? And I'll give you a little example. If you took a bag of Doritos in Europe, if we have 20 ingredients in America, there's only 10 in the European. So, as usual, knowledge is power, but we don't have a good reference.
So understanding the entrapments will help you to overcome these cravings to consuming unhealthy food. And I also just want to mention to you that recently there was an article in the New York Times that Bill Gates is the largest owner of farmland in this country. And that should be very alarming to everyone in here. This is the same person who wanted to block the sun, right?
But that only really makes sense because America is all about big companies. One company buying another one, and then guess what? You don't have any choices. So when all the small farmers were doing their farming, they produced good food. When you just leave it to one or two people, then they could do whatever they want and give you whatever they want. And I alluded to in the previous sessions that, the fruits are getting bigger and bigger, but they don't taste good. And if you go back in time, the fruits were like the size of your hand. They would fit in your hand. Okay, now they're big and untasty, and they were small and delicious.
They look good.
Oh, they make sure they look good. But when you bite into them, you know they don't taste good.
And it offers no nutritional value.
And I gave the example, too, back that, the apple from the 1950s had 6 times the nutritional value that 2021. And you could look that information up. There's no nutrients. And, we started off by saying the body needs vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and water. And that's all it really needs. But they've convinced us that we could take a supplement after supplement and we'll be okay. But if we had real food, we wouldn't need all those vitamins.
And just to recap, on his point, recapping what we spoke about in the last session, is the reason why it's better to eat the actual food, right, than to take a supplement is because we're energetic beings, right? And the fruit that we eat, right, has energy in it, right? And so then there's a language being spoken when that food, right, that was made in the sun and consumed in our body, it knows what to do. So you're not going to have the same effect taking the supplement. It's processed, it's man-made, it's made in the laboratory. What's the efficacy of it? How potent is it? How much vitamins and minerals and nutrients are you actually getting from that supplement?
And then they add the things like coffee to give you energy, which is a stimulant, and it's not the best thing for you. So I would encourage all of you to try a different coffee. And that coffee could be like walnuts, dates, and water. And you can blend that together and heat that up, and it'll taste delicious. And I bet you'll have more energy than you have with a cup of coffee.
Baking soda.
Really, what it is coffee's like everything else. If you get good organic coffee, then it's not as bad. It's still a stimulant, but it's more natural. The problem is, that coffee is mass produced. It's like the most popular drink all over the world, right? So you have to understand that when you start making things for big money, that you're going to cheat along the way. And coffee is a huge business in America. Starbucks, there's one everywhere. Dunkin' Donuts, there's one everywhere. And the big places like 7-Eleven that stay open 24/7, they all are really selling a lot of coffee.
So we talked about, processed food, packaged food, fast food, but I also want to talk about canned food. So canned food, in order to kill the bacteria and the pathogens, it's heated at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So that kills all the vitamins and nutrients in whatever it is, that's in the can, whatever the vegetable or whatever it is. It's dead food. You're not getting any nutritional value from that food, from what's in that can. And also, the shelf life, you don't even know. I mean, some of those canned foods are sitting on the shelf 5 to 10 years. What nutritional value are you getting from that?
So that takes us to the point that, eating food in its natural state is the best you can do. So if you can buy produce that is fresh, that's the best. Frozen is the second best. And in some things, frozen's actually can actually be better with some of the berries and stuff like that. all those. But in general, the can and the boxes, they shouldn't even come in our house. They shouldn't. Most of the things in the can and the box don't belong in our box.
Most of your time in the supermarket should be spent in the produce aisle. That's it, really. Fruits and vegetables. Well, are you buying organic and non-GMO produce?
No, what you're saying is absolutely true. Even when you try to eat healthy, you're going to have a challenge in America because I would do a test for us that if we went to Africa or we went to Europe, we could eat fruit every day and we would be really. It's so good that I can't even describe it. When I would travel to some parts of the Caribbean, like Dominican Republic or Haiti, and you eat the fruits there, then you really know what fruits are supposed to taste like. And the problem is here, the point that you made is an excellent one, because are the fruits what we think they are? And I think a lot of them are GMO. A lot of them have been grown and ripened, taken off before they were ripe. So therefore, they're not going to ever taste good because you pull them off the tree or vine too early.
And the other thing also is that the soil in which it's grown is compromised.
And the seeds are compromised.
Okay.
And the seeds are compromised.
No. I mean, frozen fruits are good, but I would not say that. You keep looking and searching, and try to make sure that you buy organic produce. Try to make sure you get non-GMO. I mean, again, it's not. We're here in America. They don't have our best interests in mind, right? The goal is to keep us sick, right? And so, but at the same time, you're still not going to resort to eating unhealthy food intentionally, right?
And really what it is you have to make the best choice that you can. And at the end of the day, even though the fruits and vegetables are not as good as they could be, they're better than the other options of the box and the can and all the stuff that we've been conditioned. And now we think it's perfectly normal because it only makes sense in our mind. The only healthy aisle is the produce aisle, but it's only one produce aisle. And all of the other aisles that are not healthy, there's tons of them. So, and when you think you're going shopping, nobody's saying, well, I'm just going to the produce area. Everybody's like, you're used to going to the cookie aisle. You're used to going to the potato chip aisle. You're used to going to the soda aisle, the cereal aisle. And when you look at it, they're all the same thing.
Speaking of cereals, especially cereals that are targeted for children, you have the food coloring, the red, the blue. You also have the preservatives that they put in those cereals. So BHT and BHA, if you Google it, they're all cancer causing. They all cause cancer. And a lot of these foods, the junk foods, the gummy bears, the cookies that are geared towards children, all have these ingredients that are cancer causing.
But doesn't it make sense? If I get you from the beginning, I don't have much work to do. So here it is, we're thinking children are our prized possession. And here it is, we start them off with all of these cravings, eating all of this sugar and junk food.
McDonald's.
What's the menu?
thinking it's a treat, giving them McDonald's and chicken nuggets,
Chicken fingers, macaroni and cheese from the box.
pizza. I mean,
You have to detox. Our body only craves what. How do you? The question was, how do you break the sugar addiction? First, I'll say it's a challenge, a huge challenge. And any one of us who's tried to get rid of sugar for a day or two knows how difficult that is. But I can tell you, I've done it. With the help of Teresa, I've done it. I've done a detox for 2 weeks, and I can tell you this. I didn't have the same cravings for meat or anything with sugar. But you really got to stick to it.
and sugar is as dangerous as cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Honey's no good. Molasses is no good. Sugar is no good.
Well,
No, if natural, the sugar that you get from the fruits and stuff like that, that's natural sugar. But even in the raw, it's not good. You can,
so basically, just to sum this all up, through the intentionally designed entrapment of America's dietary system, we've become slaves. Enslaved to the system. And so how do we emancipate ourselves? Through education, knowledge, and intuition. In the Black community, at every corner you have the fast food restaurants, right? The liquor stores. And then now what's popping up more and more in every corner is the dialysis center and the city NDs.
and you know who's mostly in the dialysis center
Us.
is us.
Us. And so it's a vicious cycle, right? So they poison you with the food with the permission of the FDA, right? And then you get sick and you go to the doctor and he doesn't treat the root causes, right? Which is what you're eating, right? He treats symptoms and he gives you a medication. And so the medication now, it addresses the symptom temporarily, but then it has all these side effects that damage everything else in the body. And then you stay with Big Pharma, and it's an ongoing cycle. And you continue to eat that food. And and we mentioned this in the last 2 workshops, right? So most diseases stems from 4 things, right? So it's mucus, inflammation, acidity, and the environment. And with the exception of the environment, the mucus, the inflammation, and the acidity is all caused by what you eat, what you consume. Lemon?
Lemon, remember I told you?
Alcohol, yeah.
Which came first, the lemon or the lime? The lime. So limes are better than lemons, but lemon is good
Lemon
still.
is also good.
Lemon is good.
It has a form of vitamin C, it has phosphorus, so. Lime tastes good.
Yeah.
Especially key
Especially
limes.
key limes.
So, we have a choice. Do we remain in bondage, right, by continuing to eat the foods that we know are not good for us and be reliant on Big Pharma? Or do we free ourselves and correct our lifestyle and what we're consuming?
And Teresa said something important. You can have no change without doing those lifestyle changes, because all that we know is our culture. Our culture is our food and our language. And if you grew up in the South, you probably eat a lot of Southern food, of course, because it's regional.
Pig's intestines.
And it's going to be hard to change that. And as I alluded to before, when Bishop Mackey said about, how can you get rid of the sugar addiction? It's through detox, because you have to remove the things that you crave from the body completely. And that is a very difficult process because that's the same process that a drug addict goes through when they have to withdraw from that drug. And it's the same process. You're gonna go through a withdrawal of when you don't have the sugar and the coffee and all those things that you want to have and that you used to have. And it's so funny in America, we always look down on drug addicts. Like that's a terrible thing because we determine with our culture what's good and bad. Okay. And nobody ever talks about sugar addiction. Okay, but as Teresa alluded to, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. But yet it's all okay. Ain't nobody talking about anybody who is addicted to sugar. But if you get addicted to a drug that they put in our community, then it's like the end of the world. But it shouldn't be, because the biggest thing is you have to detox, whether it's from food or drugs, slowly, with encouragement, with support, and then you can overcome.
And I just want to just go back to what Dr. Bryson just said about, the culture and lifestyle. You hear a lot of people saying, oh, cancer runs in my family. My grandmother had it, my mom had it, this person has it, or, high blood pressure or whatever. It's not necessarily that it runs in your family. What's happening is that, your lifestyle, your culture, right? So your grandmother taught you how to make something, and you're eating like all the saltfish and the dumplings and the hard dough bread and the oxtail, and so the same ailments that affected your grandmother is now going to affect you because you're eating the same things, and so on and so on and so on. Correct.
Right. So you get generational diseases.
So right. It's not that it runs per se in your family. It's the diet. Exactly.
And we really have to pay attention to what we're eating. And before, we didn't have the choices that we have today. And there's one big staple that I can't believe that it's so popular in our culture today, and that's oxtails. Has anyone? No, it's huge. It's the most expensive meat when you go to a Caribbean restaurant. And if you see a raw oxtail, you would say to yourself, I'm paying all this money to eat a piece of a tail. And it's incredible what they can convince you to do. Well, supply and demand. But you should say to yourself, what are you really trying to eat, though?
So someone mentioned something to me a while back, and it just always resonated with me, and so I wanted to mention it to you. So if you don't put time towards your wellness, you will be forced to put all your time to your illness. And knowledge is power. So, we want to do it for our ancestors, for our lineage, and for our descendants. Emancipate yourself and earn your freedom. And this is a 6-part series. In one of the sessions, we're going to go in depth in detoxification, right? Because now you're going to change the foods that you're eating, but you have to get rid of what you currently have, what that you currently have sitting in your intestines or in your body, right? But also, I want to talk to you about, in another session, about how the foods that we eat intentionally calcifies the pineal gland, and how that correlates to your spirituality. But that's for our next session.
Mm-hmm. So the most common ailments are a result of digestive disorders. The interesting thing is most of our immunity is in our intestines. And those digestive disorders like diabetes, also very common today, acid reflux. And I'm going to harp on acid reflux because, I remember when I was growing up as a child that I didn't hardly hear all these people burping in your face, burping around you. And in the last 20 years, it's like normal. Somebody could be talking to you, having a conversation, they'll burp in your face almost. And I'm like, I don't remember that happening when I was. But all of the food additives and the preservatives and the chemicals, we can't control it. And that's the we have that, and we also have the flatulence as well, which is increased. Okay, and we just think it's normal because it's what's happening now. But if we compare it to what was happening before, and many of you guys can think back, think of what I'm saying. It's almost normal that someone can burp in your face. So, we have so many people have colitis, gallbladder removed, appendix removed, Crohn's disease. They're full of parasites, they're full of yeast, and so much more. So I can't stress to you, all of you in this room, how important the digestive system is. And we said that, every time you eat, you're supposed to go to the bathroom. But if you're eating the wrong things, you're going to have the opposite. You're going to become constipated, and you're not going to have that.
Because what you're eating, the body is unable to process, and it takes a long time for it to break down.
So the gut is the key to your health, and is where you have to feed your body. As I said, 80% of the immune cells are in your gut. Immune cells protect us from the outside world. Our digestive system, when laid out, is about the length of 2 to 3 tennis courts. So it's incredible. If anyone thinks of how long is your intestines? Does anyone know? 26 feet. That's how many BishopMackeys.
And especially now with, COVID and all these other viruses going around, you really, really, really want to work on, boosting your immune system. And you can't just pop a vitamin C and think you've boosted your immune system. It starts with your digestive health.
And the key part is even when you're looking at vitamin C, most of it is no good. The vitamin C that you're buying there, it's full of it's ascorbic acid, which is no good for you. So even the things that they tell us are good for us aren't really good for us.
Well, can I just tell you what gummies are? No, but not just sugar. No, it's pork and cartilage. Yeah,
the gelatin.
Gelatin is pork cartilage. Pork cartilage.
So all of those candies,
Gelatin,
Swedish fish.
any gelatins, the Swedish fishes, all those candies. Jello.
Twizzlers.
Jello.
All the gummies, if they're gummy vitamins.
It's gelatin. Gelatin is from pork cartilage.
They get their money's worth in America. They use every part of the animal. What is it? Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. It's huge for us. We're one of the only groups that put salt. That there's all of these herbs in the world. And I'll name a few. Thyme, oregano, basil. Most people use those things to cook.
I must say, though, I beg to differ, because salt is not a bad thing. It depends on what kind of salt you're using. Now, if you're using table salt, it's bad, right? That's processed. But if you're using Himalayan salt,
But Teresa, to what he's saying, most people don't even know what Himalayan salt is.
Right.
So most people are using the bad salt he said.
Right. And that's what I said. Like I said, the bad salt, yes. But there are salts that you can use that will, be beneficial to the body. Absolutely. Himalayan salt? No, you can get it in the health food store. Yeah.
It's actually
Himalayan
easy to
pink
find,
salt.
but most people don't know what
they don't know what the benefits are.
It's in everywhere.
Yeah.
You look, you can find it. Yeah. So we have approximately 100 trillion cells plus in our gut that have to get fed. And the absorption of these nutrients help us to regain energy, facilitate growth, and aid in cell repair. So we discussed in the last workshop that the absorption of these nutrients to the bloodstream takes place in small. So
as we discussed in the last session, right? And I just want to go over it because it's really important. So every time you have something in your hand that you want to consume, you have to ask yourself, is this going to heal and help my body, or is this going to harm my body? And, you know, as we discussed, there are 4 processes, right? So it starts with digestion, right? And digestion starts in the mouth. And you want to chew your food at least 30 times because you want to break it down. Then there's absorption. There's utilization, and then there's elimination. And when any of those 4 are compromised, then that's when, you know, deterioration, disease, and everything starts to happen. Absorption happens in the small intestines, and I explained to you guys the last session. You have what's called like these finger-like projections called villi, and so those villi will pull all the nutrients and then deliver those nutrients to the bloodstream. And then from there, you have the utilization. So now you have all those nutrients in the bloodstream, and then those nutrients will go to repair the cells or whatever it is that you need to do in the body. And then the last part is the elimination. And as Dr. Bryson said, every time you consume a meal, you should be moving your. But what happens is because of what you're consuming, it takes a long time for food's broken down. It's sitting in your intestines, and then you're eating again, and you're eating again, and you're eating again, and you didn't even eliminate the first meal. And then it starts to what? Putrefy, and I'm sorry? Yeah, and putrefy, and then you have parasites and diseases and everything. Vegetables, yeah, absolutely.
Salad is very good for you, except iceberg lettuce.
Right.
That's the only one that's not good. And guess what the most popular one is? Right. But don't eat that. If you have any choice.
Every restaurant you go to.
Every restaurant has iceberg. Even without iceberg.
You use romaine.
Romaine.
Organic.
Arugula.
Right. Spinach. Anything else except iceberg. Anything. Everything else is lettuce except iceberg. And also, even though it's organic, you still want to wash it properly, right? So, you can use baking soda, you can use key limes, white vinegar. So I have a combination that I use. I use baking soda, especially when it's like berries or grapes or stuff like that, where it doesn't have a thick skin. I use baking soda, white vinegar, and key limes. And I'll just soak it for 15 to 20 minutes. So you ask yourself, this is a lot. Where do we start? Right? Where do we start? So again, just consciously thinking about every time you have something, how is this helping my body? Is it harming me or helping me? And everything in moderation. I'm not saying, one day you're craving for something and again, you want to taste it. But, the thing is realizing and just not eating it all the time. Everything in moderation. I went cold turkey when I became vegan, but with Dr. Bryson, it depends on what your goals are. Like for me, I was sick, right? And so I wanted immediate healing. But for someone who's looking to transition, it's a gradual process. and don't be too hard on yourself, as Dr. Bryson said. So I start my day, and I recommend this, and this helps your digestive system to get going. Warm water with a little bit of key lime in it or lemon. And that helps too. There are many benefits. It helps promote digestion. It relieves constipation. It relieves sinus congestion. It keeps you hydrated. It acts as a detoxifying agent. It promotes the liver to flush out toxins. So it's great. Start by, every week, try to eliminate something that you are accustomed to eating from your diet. So if you maybe this week you want to start sugars or candy or junk food, and then maybe the following week you want to stop with like eating at the fast food restaurants,
Yeah. The key is just going at your own pace. All of us have a different addiction level. And I'll give you an example. I mean, when I first met Teresa a couple of years ago, I used to eat bacon. It was bacon for me. There was nothing better than bacon.
And he was like, Teresa, I don't know.
There's no way I could give it up.
He told me there's no way.
And it's coming on my third, is it? Three. December 3rd is my 3rd year anniversary of no bacon. No, not even. They do. But what I would say is that those times, those special times of the year, they're special, and you should eat everything that you want to eat on that time. But the rest of the time, we all have to do what Teresa said, is when you pick up something to eat it,
let's be conscious.
Say to yourself, ask yourself a simple question. Is it going to help me or hurt me? And if we all do that, our lives are going to change. That's why I want you to eat. I want you to eat.
Well, okay. I mean, so there are herbs that I can share in the next session, like Gemma Stemmer. There are herbs that give you energy where you wouldn't want to use Pepsi, right? Because Pepsi is really toxic for the body. There was a study done where Pepsi was used to clean a toilet, and it was just as effective as Clorox. So, and it's highly addictive. Absolutely.
Pepsi, Coke.
Yeah. So in addition to eliminating the foods, you want to start incorporating the healthier choices. Live foods that are alkaline, organic. Non-GMO. You want to start taking away the bad things and adding in the good things. Also, we discussed, intermittent fasting. I told you I don't eat my first meal before 12, and my first meal is fruit, right? And my largest meal is lunch. And then I eat a small portion for dinner. And also, we were taught to, that we have to eat, 3 meals a day and all of that. You don't. You don't.
They just want you to eat more, to get sick more. Every 7 hours is what you should eat. Everybody's metabolism is different. You have some people, they could eat everything, they stay slim. You have other people who they don't eat a lot and they gain a lot of weight. So remember, it's not a one size that fits all. You have to know who you are And you have to look at yourself, because some people have a high metabolism like you, and you can eat a lot more than most of us. And there's a lot of people who have a slow metabolism that they just eat a little bit, and people say, "Oh, you eat everything," and they're like, "I didn't eat anything." We're gonna wrap up. Yeah. Question. We don't.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But again,
Coffee gives you energy too. Coffee gives you energy too. It's not the best for you. It's better than drinking it with sugar and milk. It's good. It's good.
you had a question? Mhm. Absolutely. Mhm. Women. Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And also, it those additives and preservatives affects a woman's reproductive cycle. It causes a lot of infertility, like you said, hormone imbalance. So you're absolutely right.
And the hormones that we're putting in our body through the meat mostly.
Mhm.
Those chickens are, really growing fast with the hormones, estrogen.
Yeah.
Okay, and your body makes its own. So why are you getting so much from an outside source? And how does that affect your body?
And you had another question? Applying it, right. So that's why, yeah. No, we absolutely can.
But there's books too.
Right.
Tons of books now.
You're absolutely right. And it's the application. Like, where do we go from here? And so, as we mentioned to you, we have a business, the Holistic Wellness, and we do one-on-one consultations. I'm an iridologist. I'm also a bioenergetics practitioner. And so, in looking at your eye, I can tell you what's going on with your body, past, present, and what can possibly come up. And so from there, we would put together a program, right? One, to help you detox, to address whatever it is that we see. And then, most importantly, a dietary plan on how to move forward. And that incorporates, recipes for juices, for meals. Because a lot of people say, okay, you tell me to stop eating this, you tell me to stop eating that. Now, what do I eat? So we actually do a step-by-step. The program is 3 months. I will actually go with you shopping. I've gone to people's homes, taken everything that's not good and replaced it with the good stuff, recipes and everything else. How do I juice? How do I do this? How do I prepare this? So we do all of that. But in this session, here we do intend to give you guys some recipes. I don't know what you guys like, right? So we would have to talk a little bit more. What would you like recipes on? So for me, my average, let's say, I have fruit in the morning. My lunch is usually, a soup, a lentil soup, or I'll have like quinoa or couscous and some type of lentils or beans or something. I'll have vegetable. So today I had lentils, I had couscous, I had baked squash, and I had a salad. And then this morning I had my breakfast was fruit. And then I'll probably have like a little salad or something this evening. Okay. Wow. Wow. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Wow. Thank God. Wow. Wow. That's great. Absolutely. Yeah. But also, you know, the STEM enhance is something that he should be taking. The, the, the STEM enhance, and I mentioned this in the last workshop. So, but yeah, we'll talk. He'll talk to you about that. Okay, Dr. Bryson, please do that. Okay.